Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Crafty Kathy and I'm so happy and thankful that you stopped in to craft and spend a little time with me today. This week I've been working on some fall Dollar Tree DIYs and I think you're really going to like these. They just took me minutes to create. I think the longest one maybe took me about 15 minutes and they're gorgeous. But without further ado, let's jump on in. The first DIY turns out so gorgeous. It is going to be a wreath for your fall door. I'm going to be using this pumpkin wood cutout, and then I have this round. I don't think that my round came from the Dollar Tree, but they do have them. You just need one that's going to be a little bit larger than that pumpkin cutout. And then I'm going to use this Rust-Oleum wood stain in the color called Kona, and I found this at Dollar Tree too. When I do my DIYs, you know I'm just here for inspiration. So for example, if you don't have the exact components that I have, you can still make a wreath just like this one. Maybe you don't like that color Kona. Maybe you want to use the Waverly stain. That's fine. It's all going to work out great. Maybe you don't like that pumpkin wood wreath and you want to use a different thing on the top. And you can still use the exact same components that I'm going to tell you for this wreath to make it to your liking. I try to do all my DIYs that way just to give you the idea and then you run with it and make it whatever you want it to be. And now that I said that, I honestly think that the Waverly wax would be way prettier on this sign than this darker color. I had just bought this, like I said, at the Dollar Tree a few months ago. I hadn't even opened it, and I was like, I'm going to use it. I bought it, and I'm going to use it, you know. But my personal opinion is that Waverly probably would be prettier. You see, I wasn't trying to be careful in any way. I literally just used a baby wipe, and I slapped it on. I did one coat, and then I just used like another baby wipe that had no stain on it, just to kind of knock off some of the excess. I found these two wooden words at the Dollar General, not Dollar Tree, and one says gather and the other says grateful. I'm going to take the one that says gather and I'm going to stain it just like I did the wreath. Now, in my personal opinion, I like the Dollar General stuff way better than I do the Dollar Tree. I think the quality is better, and you can get most of their things there, their little knickknacks like this, for just $1. And you can't beat that with a stick. Come on, getting two of these words like this for just $1 is a great deal. Now we're going to paint our pumpkin. I'm going to use my favorite paint in the whole wide world, which is DIY paint in the color called Summer Crush. It is a perfect pumpkin color. Now, I don't want any of this orange color to get on any of the raised areas of that pumpkin. So what I did was get a smaller paintbrush that I can just slide right in those areas, and I won't be getting any orange where I don't want it. And I want to take just a quick moment to welcome all of you to the video. I am so glad that you stopped in to spend a little time and chat and craft with me today. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I would love for you to hit that little red button and become a part of our family. We're all on a crazy crafting journey, and we might as well do it together. And of course, to subscribe, it's always totally free. And also, if you would do me a huge favor and hit the like button, that really helps out my channel. It tells YouTube, hey, we like this girl, and they will push my video out there to people who've never seen me before. And in case you haven't noticed, I really like to talk. I'm Southern. I think it's part of our DNA. And I would love for you to leave me a comment down in the comment section because I love to connect with you guys down there. If you're not a person who likes to leave comments or talk too much, leave me a little pumpkin emoji, because anything that you leave in the comments and the like button really helps out my channel, and I thank you guys so much for supporting my channel. I definitely wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. Now we're going to do the middle parts of the pumpkin with the DIY paint color called beadboard. And I forgot to mention, if you ever want to try out any of this DIY paint and see what the big fuss is all about, my friend Lori over at Milton's Daughter sells it, and she also sells all of the IOD products that I use. Now, I do get a lot of my stuff like from Dollar Tree, Dollar General, Temu, Amazon, but when it comes to my paint and stuff like that, I always get that from Lori because DIY paint is my favorite and it's amazing paint. One coat does the trick, and now we're moving on. I'm going to decopauge some of this gorgeous fall paper that I got from Brandy. Now, Brandy has a channel called the DIY Struggle, and that's the name of her store also. I'll leave that in the comment section and down below in case you want to go get some of this paper. But she has tons of different fall stuff, Halloween stuff out right now, even Christmas stuff. And it's at an amazing price, and look how beautiful this is. Of course, I'm going to pick out the chicken, and the way that I like to decopauge is I never have any straight edges. I always wet the end of a paintbrush, and I'm just going to go around and get each of the patterns off of here the way that I want them. Oh, that little chicken on this paper reminds me, guys, I got 8 new baby chickens, and they are so cute. They're silkies. They're the ones that have like the bouffant hair, you know, on top of their head. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe I have went all my life without having silkies in my flock. And before I get off of the subject, talking about my chickens, all I'm going to do is just wet this paper and then tear it. It tears very easily. And of course, I chose the chicken to go right in the middle of my pumpkin. My favorite way of decoupaging, in case you haven't watched me decoupage before, is just to use these Elmer glue sticks. I do have permanent ones that I get off of Amazon, and I have those in my Amazon store. But most of the time, I don't use permanent. I just use the ones that you buy at the Dollar Tree or whatever, because in case I ever want to change it, you just put your glue stick down, and I kind of press in the middle first and then work my way outwards to the edges, and there is no wrinkles and no wet, messy goop. That's why it's my favorite way to do it. And in my opinion, it's just the easiest way. I love it when you can just quickly get her done and move on to the next step. Now we're going to put our pumpkin on the round. I do want it to come up almost like a 3D effect, and I'm going to use this Type Bond Quick and Thick wood glue. I am going to put it on the side of these tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree. It doesn't take much of this, so what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of that in the middle, and then on the sides I'm going to put the hot glue. Here in Tennessee, it's not a good idea to use hot glue if you're going to put this outside, because that hot glue is going to melt. Yes, it'll melt even in October because it's warm here. And you just want to keep in mind not to let that wood glue and the hot glue mix, because they'll actually cancel each other out and you won't get a hold at all. But I promise you, when this wood glue dries, that pumpkin won't go anywhere. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my gather sign on, and I chose to put mine toward the top. Of course, you can do yours totally different. I'm going to use a combination of the hot glue and the wood glue again so that we can have an absolute great hold. Now the last step is going to be adding our florals, and I love to put florals either on the bottom half of the wreath or just kind of on half of my wreath. What I did was took a piece of a pool noodle, because it's foam. I cut it in half here, and we're going to put that down at the bottom, and that's what we're going to use to put our florals in. I can't say that word, florals. Wow. I'm using a little bit of the Fix-All glue from Dollar Tree to make sure that it's going to have a really good hold, and just a little bit of hot glue on the edges. And my favorite way of doing flowers is to use at least 3 different ones. That's because the colors and the textures kind of fight for your eye's attention, and it just goes right. And I personally like to have ones that are a little bit longer, like these that I'm cutting here. It's just the way that they flare out from the wreath. I like that. And the way that I always do any of my florals is whatever I put on the bottom, I'm going to put that same pick on the other side in the exact same spot. And what I mean by that is, if you'll notice, I put my first pick on the right side at the bottom, and then I go over to the left side and put that same type of pick on the left. I did one on the bottom, one on the top on each side, and I think there was about 6 picks on that one stem, so each side has 3. I hope that makes sense what I'm saying, but I mean, you can see what I'm doing here. Basically, what I do on one side, I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. And that first thing of the longer stems that I put in, I think those came from Temu. And the second ones that I'm putting in and the rest that I do use are all Dollar Tree. I love these beautiful, I'm not even sure what these are called, this orange that goes in the middle there. And I think those are so pretty. I'm going to put 2 on each side. I didn't want to overwhelm the wreath. And once I got these orange flowers on there, I realized I didn't like the green leaves that it had, and so I just literally used my scissors and cut them off. Now the last ones that I'm going to use are these beautiful yellow ones, and you'll notice that's 3 different colors, and I just think that looks better. It's more cohesive, and it just seems to go right. Now we've got to put something in the very center to cover up our pool noodle. And this is a flower that came out of one of those little vases from the Dollar Tree. It's the ones that are in like the small little plastic pots, and there's literally just one flower there. I'm just going to cut it off and pop it right down in the middle. And when I stepped back and looked at it, I wasn't too crazy about the green leaves that are on that orange flower. So what I did was take this old wreath that I had gotten from Dollar General a few years ago and just cut off 2 of the more fall looking leaves that I liked. And I'm going to glue them right on top of those green leaves. And I love the way that this looks. Now last year, I got these, I think it came in about 6 bundles of this straw stuff because I could not find it for the life of me at Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to tie really just kind of like a generic bow tie in it. I'm going to cut the bows off to where it just kind of flares out everywhere, and then trim it down, and I'm going to place that underneath the bottom of my orange flower. Not as any type of a focal point, but almost just like a filler. And I come back in just a minute and put that on because at this point I didn't even know if I was going to use it or not. I'm just taking some of that Dollar Tree twine right here. I put a little bit of glue on the top of my stem, and I'm going up the stem to cover it so it will have that beautiful brown coloring that we all love on the pumpkin stems. I'm going to singe it with the lighter to burn off all the little fuzzy parts, and if you do this, just use caution. I just lit it for a second and then blew it out. And here was where I was talking about a minute ago that I just added that straw down on the bottom. Like I said, I wasn't sure if I was going to use it or not, and then I thought I'm just going to stick it down on the bottom, kind of catty corner, not as a focal point, but just to kind of add to the whole wreath. I got these acorn picks at Dollar Tree, and I wanted to add just one up toward the top of my flower arrangement just to bring something extra there. And then last year I lucked up and walked in on a yard sale that had all kinds of fall little embellishment, and I found these little corn, and these things are actually from Hobby Lobby, and I got this whole bag for like 10 cents or something. So I'm going to add my corn up toward the top part of the flowers. And for the very last step, and I promise this is the last step, I'm not big on bows. I got these off of, I want to say it was either Temu or Amazon last year, and I'm going to make the simplest bow by making a circle at the top, and I'm just going to squish it down in the middle, bring it together in the center, and then have one longer ribbon for the tails. I'm just going to tie this together with some twine, and it's going to go at the top of my wreath. I placed this at the top of the wreath, and I wanted my tails to be fairly short so that you could read the word gather, so I cut some dovetails in there. And I lied like a big yellow dog when I said that was the last step, because I totally forgot that I added a couple leaves. These are just little wood leaves that I got at Hobby Lobby last year. I'm just going to add one in the center of my bow and two on each side, and I promise now I'm done. I promise you the rest of these DIYs are super fast and easy. This is one of those little signs from Dollar Tree, and I took it outside and spray painted the whole thing with Rust-Oleum matte white. And I actually got me one of those little watering pens. I picked these up at the Dollar General. They had 3 in a pack for just $1. And I want to get this little deer off of the top of that same tissue paper that we used on the first DIY. I'm going to place him down the exact same way that I decopauge any type of paper like this, and that's with the glue stick once again. I always lay it down and start off in the middle and kind of press my fingers outward. Now I'm going to grab some of these transfers, because Brandy not only sells paper, she sells transfers. I'm going to pick this one that says Hello Autumn, and I'm going to place it almost right over the top of the deer picture, or it's kind of half and half. Now, if you've never used a transfer, they are so easy. You lay them down on that plastic backing that they have, and you just rub over it with this tool, and she sends a tool with all of her transfers, and then you just pull that plastic backing up, and it comes right off onto your project. It's a perfect, easy, and quick way to add beauty to any of your DIY projects. Now, there's a couple of little leaves that I wanted to use on that same transfer sheet, and I'm just using my fingernail instead of that tool because these are much smaller, and to me it's easier to do that. You see, I'm just using my fingernail and going over it and then pulling that film up, and it's on my plaque. I couldn't stand not using this one with the pumpkins stacked on top of each other, because I thought that looked perfect right in the center here. And then I added another small leaf. I'm going to use this brown ink pad that I got a week or two ago off of Amazon. And these are in my Amazon store if you want to get some of these. They're just really good to edge out your projects. I just felt like it needed some type of an edging around it. So what I do is just kind of lay it like at an angle and just go over it so it would give that darker brown line all the way around my project. And for the fall, I love to use this bronzing color. It's a pentart product, and in my opinion, it's the same thing as Rub and Buff, but I do like this better. I love this color. It's a bronze color. It's so pretty, and I'm just going to apply it with my fingers. I wanted to put it on all of my beads, but they didn't have to be exactly perfect. I just kind of ran it over the beads, and then I'm just going to run it all over the top part of my plaque also. I love to use these to accentuate my projects and just kind of bring a little bit of extra color without it being kind of like a main focal point. I hope that kind of makes sense, but it probably doesn't. But if you've ever used these, you absolutely know what I'm talking about. It's so funny how our projects kind of evolve. I grabbed some of these little pre-made ribbons off of Temu the other day. I've been spending way too much money on Temu, by the way. And I found these ones that are kind of like a brown and ivory color. And I popped them on the top of the pumpkins and just placed the pumpkins one on each side of that little bottom portion of the plaque. Then I got the idea of, hey, this plaque is kind of shaped like a pumpkin. Why don't we put one of these stems on the top here to make it look like a little pumpkin? And these are the stems, by the way, that they sell at the Dollar Tree. And then after I put the stem on, I thought we've got to put some kind of leaves on here. So I just used 2 little leaves off of that same like leftover wreath that I had, and I popped them on the top. And that's what I was talking about, how my projects evolve. I never have in mind what I'm going to do before I start the project. I just do it. And I hope you like this one. Don't blink, because you'll surely miss this next one. I hate to even call this a DIY, but I always make candles for every single season. Now, these 2 candles are not from Dollar Tree. However, you can use those if you want. They're battery operated, and I'm simply just going to take 2 of the pictures that I want from that same tissue paper that we used before. I chose the owl to go on one of them, and the pig is going to go on another one. Now I'm going to do these with my glue stick that is not permanent like I normally do. And don't worry if some of the purple, if you can see it, because remember that just disappears anyways. I promise you, you're never going to know. And you literally just put it on there, and I start off in the middle and just kind of rub outward, and it's perfect every time. That way, I don't ruin my candles by putting it on permanently. I can change this up with every season, and believe me, honey, I do that. I'm going to do the same thing with the little piglet and stick him right on the other candle. I'm going to grab those same fall transfers that we used on our last DIY. One of them has the word gather, and the other one says hello pumpkin. But I didn't necessarily want the pumpkin in there, so you literally just cut it out the way that you want it to look on your project. Now, I think it looks nicer when I overlap the transfer onto that piece of rice paper where the little piggy is here. And I'm just going to use my fingernail and scratch over it, just like I showed you before. And then I'm going to peel it off to reveal the most beautiful little candle. Now, how simple and quick and easy is that? When people come over to my house, they have no idea that I make my own candles, and just about everyone that comes in has got to tell me how beautiful they are. And when I tell them how easy it is to create these, they're just shocked. I did the second one with the owl the same way as I did the first one.
Hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. Oh, the good times just begun. We know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life.
Another thing that I love to change up every season are these little key holders or wall hooks. They're actually called at Dollar Tree. But I love to make these over for different seasons and hang them by the door, and we stick our keys on them. I chose to use the transfer that says thankful, and it has just like some pretty flowers beside it. I cut it out off the top, and then there was a couple of it looks like a little gourd and a leaf, and I added those on first. I just used my fingernail to place those down, and then I put the word thankful kind of right over the top of them. If there's an area where it overlaps, you can either just not apply that place down onto your project, or you can just kind of use like a little sanding sponge and just take off the excess after you've applied it. I grabbed 2 of those wooden leaves that I had told you I got at Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to stick one on the top and one of those on the bottom. I took one of those little Temu pre-made bows that is black and white checkered. I love to use black and white in my fall crafts. And then I'm going to use that pentart bronze coloring again. It's called antique wax, and I'm just going to go all around the areas that are white. And I'm not trying to go for a full coverage, but I am putting a pretty good amount because for me, that bronze color just screams fall. I mean, I use it all year round, but to me, it's so beautiful to use in the fall. I even took like a very small, like detailed top paintbrush to get in the edges around those leaves because it was hard to get there. And that's all there was to this one. I hope you like it. It was so simple. I hate to call it a DIY. I know I usually show all the finished crafts all together at the very end of my video, but I'm going to start doing it a little bit different just to save time. Don't forget that my video times are changing to 7 o'clock on Mondays and Thursdays. Now here's the babies. Aren't they just the cutest things ever? There's a total of 8 of them, and they're at different ages. You can tell the ones that are about the same size are all from the same flock. That biggest black one that is real fluffy, he's about a week to 2 weeks older than the other ones. And he is so cute. I say he because he kind of pecked at me the other day, so I'm thinking he may be a rooster. They're all silkies. They're just different varieties of silkies, and 4 of them are called naked necks, and you can see why, because they don't have a feather one on their neck. Did you know that if you're on a phone or a tablet that you can press this subscribe button and become a part of our channel? You sure can, and I would love for you to do that. Also, if you found inspiration in this video, please give me a big thumbs up, and don't forget to leave me a comment. I'll see you guys soon, Lord willing and the creek don't rise.